My God, you go to some of those universities, every book that has been published is there. And if a book has just been published 1 month ago, you'll get it. Here in Nigeria, even if a book has been published 10 years ago, you rarely find it here because the distributors like Routledge and Kegan Paul, Cambridge University Press, Blackwell, Harvard University, California Press, and all the other major presses don't really distribute their books in Africa. I mean, a book will cost you about like $100 or €100 or £100. Now, $100 is like 57,000 naira. Who is going to spend 57,000 naira on a book? But the biggest challenge is not so much whether the students can compete favorably with students from other parts of the world or from other parts of the country. The biggest challenge is our perception of education in Nigeria, and I think in Africa. We tend to believe that for you to be educated, you have to be led by someone. Someone has to sit, you have to sit in front of someone and learn from that person. The idea of learning on your own is seen as alien. There's no way you can learn on your own. That's what we believe, but that's wrong. So the Hausa dominates in that sense. Because they are attached to their language, and even if, let me tell you this, if two professors, Hausa professors meet, they don't speak in English.
Yes.
They speak in Hausa. In our homes, we don't speak in English. We speak in Hausa. You can attend an international conference at Harvard University and speak in American English, but when you get back home, you speak in Hausa language. So that attachment of writing it, performing it, and living it, you are living the language, makes us attached to it. In my papers, I make my papers open so that people can read them, digest them, and most importantly, criticize me and say, no, Prof, I don't agree with you. Then I said, okay, you don't agree with it, let's have a conversation. Okay, let's convince each other. And that's how knowledge moves. You criticize, you move. You criticize, you move. You don't just close your mind and say, I'm a professor, nobody is going to challenge me. No, I want to be challenged. I want you to tell me that you don't agree with me and you have your reasons for not agreeing with me. Then I will learn something from you because I'm always trying to learn also. I've never closed my mind. I'm always on the lookout for something new to learn.
Hello, welcome to this episode of the Educational Podcast by Edison. I'm your host, Abdalla. This afternoon, we've been joined by Professor Abdalla Uba Adamu, Professor of Science Education and Media and Cultural Studies at the Bayero University Kano. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Fine, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good.
And let's not forget, Professor Adamu is the immediate past Vice-Chancellor of the National Open University of Nigeria, NOUN. And we'll be discussing issues around open and distance learning education. How has it been moving in Nigeria compared with other parts of the world today?
Well, the biggest challenge of the open and distance learning situation is that of technology. Technology is what drives it. That's the whole thing. The whole idea behind open and distance learning is to deliver instruction, quality instruction to students wherever they are at their comfort zone through internet technologies. Internet came to Nigeria only about 1996 or so. So it has not developed very well. So before the internet, we were delivering ODL materials via videotapes, audio tapes, and then later on CDs and DVDs. This again was not efficient because it requires electricity. You have to have a TV, you have to have a radio set, you have to have electricity to run all these things. When internet came, that's when ODL really took off because it enables us to deliver content to many students wherever they are. Now in 2021, ODL is even better. The reason is because you can access students through their devices. Virtually everyone has a handset, so we can deliver ODL through their handsets. And I think this is just simply a wonderful development. Because from their handsets, we can give them lectures, and then they can also press links on Google, on YouTube, on whatever website they want and get additional information. They can download our materials, so we don't have to print the materials anymore. We still do, but we don't have to. But they can download the materials from our websites and read their books. So I think ODL is the most enabler of higher education for Africa. In the other parts of the world, like Malaysia, United Kingdom, New Zealand, and Australia, they have gone very far because they had the technology earlier. We're only getting the technology now and getting familiar with the technology now. It's become more affordable now. So we are at a stage where they were a long time ago, but we're catching up.
That's interesting to know.
One of the major criticisms of the National Open University is that of Nigeria, particularly, is that the program isn't run like the regular system where they have to attend lectures. That these students are not being taught well. Can you say with confidence that based on your leadership over the past 5 years that these graduates from the National Open University can compete favorably with those in conventional universities?
All you have to do is go to the law school, the Nigerian Law School. The National Open University of Nigeria students are right now in law school, and they are just simply performing excellently very well. So it's not a question of where you study, it's a question of who you are. You may be in Harvard University, and if you don't pay attention to your studies, you end up plunking. So it's not a question of whether it is delivered online, whether it is delivered in person. It's a question of your own dedication to your work. And the National Open University of Nigeria students are mature students. These are people who have already graduated from high schools. They are doing their jobs. They are mature people, and therefore they have a more focus on their study, and therefore they get their results better because they manage their times more efficiently than younger people who are in level 200 or 100 in conventional universities. So, but the biggest challenge is not so much whether the students can compete favorably with students from other parts of the world or from other parts of the country. The biggest challenge is our perception of education in Nigeria, and I think in Africa. We tend to believe that for you to be educated, you have to be led by someone. Someone has to sit, you have to sit in front of someone and learn from that person. The idea of learning on your own is seen as alien. There's no way you can learn on your own. That's what we believe, but that's wrong. When you buy gadgets and any other product, you see a little piece of paper inside that tells you how to use it without anybody telling you how to use it. So it's this mindset about having to be in front of a professor or somebody to teach you that is a critical issue for National Open University of Nigeria, because people are not used to reading on their own. So get up, sit down and read on your own. Because you see, in National Open University of Nigeria, if you pass your examination, it is because you read very well. If you fail your examination, it's because you don't read very well. There is no teacher to harass you sexually or financially. There is nobody to demand anything from you. There is nobody to force you to buy any of their handouts. It is only you, your book, and most importantly, your ambition. So this is a challenge that the university is facing, why people believe that open and digital learning is not qualitative learning, but it is the most qualitative learning because it is driven by you, not by your teacher, but by you. And anything that makes you drive yourself is qualitative because you know what you are looking for. You know where you are going, and there is no barrier. The only barrier is you, yourself.
So for the 5 years you were the Vice-Chancellor, what are some of the achievements you were able to, some of the reforms you were able to put in place while in office?
People have been asking me about all these, and I always say, ask another person, not me, because I'll only be blowing my own trumpet. I say, I've done this, I've done that, I've done that. The best thing to do is to find someone else who was in the system while I was there and ask him, what did Adamu achieve? Then they will tell you. So with all due respect, I would like to defer this question. I think the best thing for you to do is pop over to National Open University of Nigeria, ask anyone, because they'll be able to tell you the good thing that I did, and they'll tell you the bad thing that I did. Nobody is perfect. I have done things that I think were good, and I'm sure I have done things that are probably bad. Some people didn't like. So if I tell you now, I'll only tell you the good part that I think I know what good. So the best thing to do is to find someone who is in the university at the time that I was there, and then ask them, Adamu was here for 5 years. Can you tell us the good things he did? Can you tell us the bad things he did? Then it becomes more complete and more objective. I'm a scientist, so that is why I believe in objectivity. I can tell you, oh, when I was there, I was the best vice-chancellor, I did this, I did that. That will be blowing my own trumpet. And I think that is immoral, unethical, and it is wrong.
Okay, I can remember one. Last year, I interviewed the CG of the Nigerian Correctional Facility, represented by its spokesman last year,
Okay.
where we talked about how inclusive education is being ensured in the correctional facilities or prison system, as we used to call it then. So he highlighted some of the efforts in collaboration with the National Open University in Abuja and some other parts of the country, where prisoners or inmates have been able to acquire degrees, even some acquiring up to PhD while in the prison, so that by the end of the terms in prison, they will be useful for themselves in the world later on. So I can attest to that one. But I think, yeah.
Yeah, but that's only one good thing. Ask somebody else to tell you something bad so that you can show that I'm a human being. I'm not an angel, I'm not a prophet, I'm just a human being. So I must have done something that people didn't like. So it's good to show that I'm a human being. So just like you talk to the DG Correctional Services, talk to another person.
Okay, earlier I introduced you as a professor of science education as well as media communication cultural studies. So how did you become a double professor?
Okay, I became a professor of science education in 1997. At that time, I was 41 years old. And at that time, university academics retired at the age of 65. So which means I had 24 years more to remain in service, which will end by 2021, ironically. And I realized that I had no intention of staying in education for the rest of my life. So I started doing something that I thought I'm very interested in. I've always been interested in film, music, and literature. And here in Kano, in northern Nigeria, the dynamics of public debate about popular culture and creative industries was very hot. There are people who like it and people who don't like it. And that tension and interface was what interested me. So I started studying it. And the next thing you know, I've been writing papers about it because I was on ground. I was documenting it as it happened. And I used my scientific background to approach humanities from a very, very structured scientific perspective. And by 2012, I have done enough in the field of media and cultural communication to warrant another professorship. And then the Vice-Chancellor said I have to move from the Faculty of Education to the Faculty of Communication, where I am now. I'm very happy. So that does not mean I have abandoned education, because I still participate in education processes. For instance, I was the one who gave the Teachers' Day lecture at the Yusuf Metamasila University this year. I was also one of the two who gave a lecture on International Literacy Day at the National Mass Education Commission in Abuja about 2 weeks ago. So I'm still in education, but my main home is communication, particularly media and cultural communication, the relationship between media in all forms, whether it is social media, social networks, television, radio, whatever, and cultural expression, cultural studies. The reason why this area is very critical is because of the narrative, social narrative in Islam about media and representation of culture. So that is why I'm very, very keen on that aspect.
Okay, that's good to know. So
yeah, but I have only one salary. I have 2 professorships, but only one salary. So I hope somebody is listening here and talk to my Vice Chancellor and give me 2 salaries. No, I'm just joking.
All right, congratulations.
Okay, go ahead.
So moving on.
Thank you.
Yes,
thank you.
I would just like to go into the issue of, just made reference to indigenous popular culture and in our Hausa. I'm just going to look into how much has popular culture affected the Nigerian indigenous languages.
It has, particularly in northern Nigeria. In the south, it did, because in southern Nigeria in the 60s and the 70s, a lot of the performing artists were doing it in their traditional languages of Urhobo, of Igbo and Yoruba and all that, like Rex Lawson, Victor Uwaifo, Haruna Ishola, and then even the younger bands like the Funkies and Ozidi, they were all doing it in their native languages. So the indigenous language becomes the first interface of contact between a creative artist and his audiences. When you try to sing and write in English, you are trying to project a culture that is not your own, and that creates a barrier between you and your audiences. In northern Nigeria, they didn't even attempt to write or to do their films or their music in English. It was Hausa all the way. They started in Hausa language, writing books since 1933, which was published, I think, around 1938. That is Magana Jarichi. And then from there on, they kept moving until way back in about 1980s when they developed the romantic genre of popular literature. And then that followed by film industry, which they started, which is now called Kannywood. So, and that is all in Hausa language. And then from Kannywood, the new music forms emerged. We had the traditional musicians who have, most of them died, like Bayero, Shata, Maraya, Anache, and all the others, they are all dead. But they are all acoustic, traditional indigenous musicians singing in Hausa language. I think I only know one person, a Hausa person who sings in English, except for rappers. Even the rappers don't really rap in English, they rap in Hausa. Maybe they mix English and Hausa in their performance and the songs. But indigenous language is a very, very, very critical in creative expression because of the audiences that you use. I mean, if you try to speak or rap or write in English, of course, there are people who read it, but they will be limited only those who have been to school. So, but when you write in your traditional language, you reach out to a lot of audiences. When you perform or make your own films in a traditional language, you reach millions of people rather than restricted people who are only able to go to secondary schools and probably universities.
Okay, as a follow-up question to that, how can we strengthen our our indigenous languages using the media, popular culture, and technology?
By encouraging production, creative industries in the indigenous languages. For instance, this does not even require any intervention from anyone. There is no institutional intervention required. Go to Facebook, a lot of the stuff in Facebook is in. Go to Instagram, go to TikTok, go to all those places. So the more we engage in social networks and social media in traditional languages, the more we emphasize and encourage the use of those traditional languages. At least here in the North, I'm not worried, I'm not sure about the southern part of the country, and that could be a challenge. Let me give you an example. Currently, I have a student who is doing his PhD in restructuring narrative between 3 different ethnic groups, the Igbo, the Yoruba, and the Hausa, on social media. What he wants to find out is what the Yoruba, the Igbo, and the Hausa are thinking about restructuring on Facebook. Now, he found a lot for Hausa, but none for Igbo, none for Yoruba. So which means that it's very likely that speakers of those languages are not using their languages in social media as well as the Hausa are using it. Probably because, of course, they are more educated, and therefore they prefer to use in English because they are communicating to people from other parts of the world, like diasporas and so on and so forth. The Hausa don't care about diaspora. They only care about what they can immediately reach out to. So they don't really care about any other universe except their own universe. So the use of social networks and social media among the Hausa is extremely, extremely strong. But now the Yoruba have also started subscribing to the indigenous language in their creative work, which is, I think, is fantastic. But about 10, 15 years ago, they were not. Everybody wants to speak English, Queen's English or American English. But the Hausa have always restricted themselves to their language. They defend it with their lives.
Just in addition to that, from my own personal observation, I'm Yoruba. Among our Yoruba speakers, majority of us prefer not to write in Yoruba because they cannot write in Yoruba. Unlike the speakers of Hausa, or not necessarily Hausa natives, Northerners that speak Hausa can write in Hausa because
That's
of
right.
yes. So that's a major challenge there. The same thing applies for Igbo. That to the extent that when you visit the BBC channels in Igbo and Yoruba, you find people writing in English. Unlike when you visit BBC Hausa, where everybody's writing in Hausa, it's very rare for you to find posts in other native languages written in the native languages, unlike you will find in the case of Hausa among Nigerian languages.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's a case of
that's right. So the Hausa dominates in that sense because
yes.
they are attached to their language, and even if, let me tell you this, if two professors, Hausa professors meet, they don't speak in English.
Yes.
They speak in Hausa. In our homes, we don't speak in English. We speak in Hausa. You can attend an international conference at Harvard University and speak in American English. But when you get back home, you speak in Hausa language. So that attachment of writing it, performing it, and living it, you are living the language, makes us attached to it. So that is why we do everything in the language, while at the same time participating in English when it matters, when it is necessary.
Okay, so I understand that you have experience teaching in Nigeria, in the Americas, as well as Europe. What are the global best practices in teaching and research that you can share with us?
In those areas, they receive a lot of grants from organizations, NGOs, government, and all the others, and therefore they're always conducting researchers. And that is why they keep coming here and becoming experts on us. Here, we don't get those grants from government, we don't get grants from NGOs. Any NGO that comes to Nigeria does so because of its own personal interest. And they won't allow you to deviate from their own individual interests, like USAID, DFID, British Council, and all those NGOs will not give you money to conduct the research that you want. But they have a research that they want you to do because it fits in with their own agenda. But over there, you have a lot of organizations that are interested in knowledge harvesting. They want to harvest knowledge, and therefore they want to provide you with grants so that you can travel and conduct a lot of researches on whatever topic you like. So that's a massive difference, number one. Number two, library access and facilities. I mean, my God, you go to some of those universities, every book that has been published is there. And if a book has just been published 1 month ago, you'll get it. Here in Nigeria, even if a book has been published 10 years ago, you rarely find it here. Because the distributors like Routledge and Keegan Paul, Cambridge University Press, Blackwell, Harvard University, California Press, and all the other major presses don't really distribute their books in Africa. I mean, a book will cost you about like $100 or €100 or £100. Now, $100 is like 57,000 naira. Who is going to spend 57,000 naira on a book? And if you ask your library to buy it, they won't be able to buy it because they will say that the money they've been given is not enough for them to buy books. With that 57,000, they can buy local books. A third is the opportunity to publish. Researchers, colleagues in some of those universities in the US, UK, Europe, and East have an opportunity to publish. The journals are first class, curated first class index journals, and the publishers are begging you to come and publish with them. But not in Nigeria, because we don't. The only thing we have is what you can call Bolekaja publishing. And you write whatever you like, just give it to any roadside printer and he prints it. And when you take it to the appointment and promotion committee, they don't accept it because they say that this is Bolekaja roadside publishing. So we are trapped here. The international publishers and the researchers are not patronizing us. Our governments are not patronizing us in Africa. And yet we are expected to be as good as they are so that we don't drive students away from Africa so that they don't have to go to Cyprus, for God's sake, or Macedonia or whatever it is to get a degree. When you can do it in Ibadan, when you can do it in Lagos, you can do it in BUK. Because all those places have these depositories of international publishers, NGOs, and so on. Kids can go there and spend 2 years, 3 years and get a degree. But here, strikes alone are enough for you to turn you off on anything. So there's a big difference, of course, naturally. It's a well-developed economy in terms of just infrastructure, but also in terms of scholarship.
Okay. We understand that we have TETFund in Nigeria, which is the main funder of higher education, infrastructure, facilities, and research. Are you saying that TETFund is not doing sufficiently well in that area?
No, TETFund is focusing attention mainly on infrastructure, okay? You want lecture theater, they build it for you. You want hostel, they build it for you. You want this, they'll build it for you. The amount of money TETFund gives for research is very, very little. They do give, not that they don't, but it's token. The amount they give for book publishing is also very little. It's about 10 million naira for a whole university. There's no way you can just allocate 10 million naira for a whole university and say they can do manuscript publishing. It's not possible. One department alone can use more than that 10 million naira if they want to produce high quality research and they want to produce a high quality book that the whole world will look at. So TETFund is doing an excellent job in infrastructure. Okay, but because that is the main focus of ASU. I mean, I'm a unionist, so our main focus actually in ASU is that the infrastructure we have in the universities is not enough for the carrying capacity of the number of students that we are admitting. So that is why the emphasis of TETFund on infrastructure. But there are things that could be done. And unless we sort out this issue of infrastructure, that is why the capitalization fund is being demanded by ASU, so that we can now reduce the pressure from TETFund, build infrastructure, and then now we can now ask TETFund, instead of giving us infrastructure, which we already have now, can we now move into funding for research, first-class research? I think that's what should be done.
All right. So how can we move on to indigenize our curriculum in Nigeria for global competitiveness?
We cannot indigenize curriculum. Professor Baus Papungwa tried that in Ife with a 5-year project on Yoruba language teaching. Is it science or mathematics or something like that? It didn't work, and it will not work. The reason it will not work is that Nigeria is not a monocultural society. Nigeria is a diverse society of different languages. And so we all agreed at 1969 curriculum conference to adopt English language as a national language. So I can't teach in Hausa, you can't teach in Yoruba, he can't teach in Igbo, and claim that we want to promote our language when our languages are mutually exclusive. We're not like the Chinese, where they have only one language. We're not like the French, where they have only one language. We're not like the Japanese or the Russians or the Arabs that have one language. We are a nation of over 230 languages. So if you, let's say you teach somebody Hausa you teach somebody in primary school in Hausa language, how do you expect that person to cope when they get to the university? And the university teaching can be, how many languages are we going to teach in the university? If you say Yoruba, Hausa, and Igbo, suppose somebody is Nufe, so how are you going to teach him? So I'm picking up the English language as a central language of communication just makes sense. I mean, it's that the only thing, it just makes sense. It's not that it's not patriotic, it just makes sense because of the multiplicity and the diversity of the languages. It makes it unrealistic to say you are going to teach every community in their local language. We're not Japan or China or Hong Kong or Taiwan or even Malaysia, where they have Chinese and Malay, but they are forcing Malay on everyone. We have, I mean, imagine they're just trying to insert one clause or the other in the constitution and all hell will break loose. So there will be another war if they try to enforce all these languages on other people. But why are we even worried about that? You have just finished saying it. The social networks and the social media have given people an ability to express themselves in their indigenous languages without going to school. Okay, the grammar is bad, the spelling is horrible, but because they're using handsets to write, and they're not used to writing. But over time, if you go to Facebook, you see how people have been able to effectively improve themselves. Beautiful discussions are taking place in traditional languages, and without anybody teaching them. The same thing with WhatsApp, with Telegram. Grandmothers are now writing text messages to their grandchildren in WhatsApp. Who taught them? Nobody taught them. So we don't even have to worry about whether we are going to get the school curriculum to be in indigenous languages. The indigenization of our life is already being done by ourselves, by big tech, by technology, by Facebook, by Instagram, by TikTok, by Instagram, by Snapchat, by WhatsApp.
So when you presented your inaugural lecture in 2004, if I'm not mistaken, you advocated for the Ajamization of knowledge. And that was with respect to teaching this, the Sangaya, products of the Sangaya system, teaching them using the Ajami.
The Almajiri, yeah, the Almajiri.
The Almajiri,
yeah.
the Ajami scripts instead of the Latin or Roman and Latin scripts. So how much effort have you seen to progress towards that?
Well, what I did was I drew attention, policy perspective, I drew attention to the fact that if you want the Almajiri to learn about Nigeria and become whatever you want them to become, you're wasting your time saying that they have to go and learn ABCD. Because when the Almajiri come to a Quranic school, they didn't come there to learn ABCD, they come there to learn the Quran. The Almajiri normally come to the Quranic school for 46 years. So the idea that you are going to takes part of that 4 to 6 years to teach them alphabet, Latin alphabet, is ridiculous. They're not going to listen because the time that they are free, like Thursdays and Fridays, they are busy doing something else. So I came up with the idea that the whole idea of literacy is what I call scriptural recognition. You can understand the script. You can write in the script. And when the Almajiri is studying, he is writing the Quranic script. He understands the Quranic script, he can read it. So instead of wasting time saying he has to learn another script, why don't we educate him in the script that he knows? And that is the Quranic script. That is what I call Ajami. But instead of writing Arabic, you write Hausa or whatever it is in that language. So you can now teach the Yoruba in Ajami. You can teach Igbo in Ajami. You can teach Hausa in Ajami, so long as they are Muslims, because they are used to the Arabic alphabet. So you can use that Arabic alphabet as a weapon to teach them. So you have the history of Nigeria in English, and you expect these kids to understand it when even those kids in primary school don't understand it. But yet, because of the spiritual connection between Quran and their study, they pay more attention to the Quran than anything else. So if you teach them history of Nigeria in Hausa Ajami, they will understand it much more than when you start teaching them in English. That's my Ajamization of knowledge. So it's not just the history of Nigeria, but the tribes of Nigeria, Nigerian constitution, history of Nigeria, and everything else. So at the end of the day, I'm guaranteeing you that if you adopt my Ajamization of knowledge principle, those Almajiri kids will be far much more informed than your primary school kids who attend conventional schools. So that was my principle. Like I said, it was a policy perspective. Nobody has picked it up, but I am picking it up myself. I'm producing books on various aspects of Nigerian history in Ajami for the Almajiri. We even have a newspaper in Ajami, and we distribute it free of charge. We have 4 volumes now of that newspaper. I will send you the newspaper after this so that you can just show it on your podcast. But we have a newspaper, and that newspaper is targeted at Almajiri students so that they have something to read about life, about coronavirus, about health challenges, and so on.
Okay, considering this newspaper you just mentioned now, what's the spread and how much accessible is it to the Almajiri that is targeted at reaching?
Well, first of all, it's on Facebook, and we like to believe that almost every Almajiri in the North has a Facebook account. Okay, it's on Facebook. We have a whole Facebook site dedicated to the newspaper, and we distribute to the Alarama. Alarama is their professor, those who teach them in the school. We give it to them and ask them to distribute it to them. We can only produce about maybe 100, 150 copies because it's all volunteer work. I mean, nobody is sponsoring this, and we don't want anybody's sponsorship, because if there is somebody's sponsorship, there will be agenda, indoctrination, and so on. Yeah, and we don't want that. All we're doing is getting news around Kano and then writing those news in Ajami and then giving it to students, Almajiri students. And we believe that with this, they will be able to understand the life far much more effectively. So we have the physical copy, which we distribute to Almajiri schools. We have the, even if there is a sponsorship that we need, is for people to provide funding for more of these newspapers to be produced so that we can get more and more people to distribute, to read it. Remember, there are millions of these kids, but that is going to be a huge undertaking. So we create a website on Facebook, and then we upload the PDF free of charge so that they can download it. The idea is not to make money. The idea is to spread knowledge.
What's the name of the page?
No, the newspaper is called Tabarau. I will send it to you, Tabarau. Okay. Tabarau means spectacle, just like this, something that sees, far off, Tabarau, like seeing into the future, so this is the future of learning, the future of education. So you see, we are focusing attention on learning, not on curriculum. They have their own Quranic curriculum, but we want them to be knowledgeable about the world. We want them to be knowledgeable about coronavirus. We want them to use face masks. We want them to use sanitizers. We want them to use social distancing. Most importantly, we want them to know that they are not the only ones in Nigeria, that there are other groups, there are other ethnic groups in Nigeria, they are different from them. We want them to understand all these things and become tolerant in their society. And you can't do that by teaching them Latin because they will not be able to learn it. Take them a long time because they have other learning track. So we decided to go with Ajami, which is a shortcut to their brains and to their minds.
Okay. So this area has been of interest to us here. In 2018, we got funding to do a report regarding the Almajiri Schools in northern Nigeria, where we visited about 5 states. That's Kaduna, okay, Kano, Sokoto, some parts of Zamfara, Katsina, and okay, that's 5. So where we looked into the program done by the federal government, the Jonathan administration back then, built some schools, and we visited some of the schools. We discovered that some of the facilities in place are being used, and in some cases, nothing was going on. So I don't know if you're familiar with that project. Do you think that in the first place were you really familiar with the project in the first before I ask my question?
No, I'm not, but I've been involved with a similar project like that, and they're all useless because they didn't lead to anything. It's all talk, 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 talk. People traveling all over the place, getting DTAs, living in hotels, enjoying themselves, and so on. At the end of the day, nothing happens. And even if you come up with your project documentation, the next governor that comes says, no, this is not my priority. So what we're doing is on our own basis as NGO. That is it. As individuals that are concerned with the education of Almajiri, we are doing it on our own with our little funds. No government, no indoctrinaire, no political ideology, nothing. Just the desire for our people to learn, because these kids are incredibly intelligent. The Quran is one of the most complicated books in history. And yet these kids, it's right in their heads, and they can download it from their heads. Off head, they can write the entire Quran. So somebody with that kind of mental power needs to be empowered to understand the world. And that's exactly what we are doing with our Ajamization. So I have been involved with so many of these projects. I have a paper called Islamic Education in Nigeria. Once you Google it, just Google, go to auadamu.com, auadamu.com. You see all that. I mean, I've been there, done that. But it doesn't lead to anything. I mean, all they do is the politicians do is talk, and say, this is very nice, this is very good. And then consultants like you and I get a chance to travel, and they get DTAs, 50,000, 100,000, and then so on. You get out of the house, leave your wife behind, and enjoy yourself for a couple of days. At the end of the day, nothing happens. At the end of the day, zero. You write all the projects that you liked, nobody has implemented anything. Well, I've been involved in this for the last 10 years. That's why I said I'm not involved with any government or NGO initiative. We will do it on our own, the little that we have. And this newspaper is one of our proudest achievements. About 5 of us who set up the newspaper. And we are running it here, right here in Kano. But like I said, it's global. We are sending it on the internet for everybody to have access to it, totally, absolutely free of charge.
If you're joining us, we're still on the Education Podcast by Edison. So from what Prof just said now, he made reference to Ajami. What we mean by that is Ajamization of knowledge. What we mean by that is writing something in the Arabic scripts. As you have on some of our, if you're Nigerian listening to us or watching this, on some of the Nigerian currencies, we have on the money, we have some things written in something they call Arabic. In actuality, what is written there is not Arabic, but the Arabic script is used there in writing those things. That's what we mean by Ajami or Ajamization of knowledge here. So
that is using Arabic script to write African languages like Hausa, Yoruba, Igbo, and so on.
And historically, Yoruba, Hausa, Swahili, and some other African languages originally before the introduction of the Latin script were actually written in the Ajami scripts. It's historically confirmed. We can find that in some of our archives and some other places like that, where documentations are kept, where we have letters written from kings or from some royalty, from one scholar to another in Yoruba using the Ajami scripts, and even in case of Hausa and some other languages like that across Africa. So it's not something entirely new, or it's not a new, but something that can assist, from what Prof is saying, something that can assist these children that are said to be, that are being tagged out of school children because they're not enrolled in the formal school system. It's going to assist them in accessing information and being relevant in the world today. Thank you very much for that. There was a reference to you going on sabbatical leave to Kaduna State University.
That's
Are
right.
are you still there?
That's right. I'm
So
there. I
what-
was on a Thursday. I was there where I delivered a sabbatical public lecture.
Okay. So what other things do you do for the university at the moment?
Well, I participate in their seminars, in their conferences. I teach MSc, Advanced Communication Research. I supervise 2 PhD students. I have delivered 1 sabbatical lecture, and I'm delivering another one before the end of the sabbatical tenure. So that's it. I'm very much part of the university. And I'm still here in Bayero University also doing the same things here. I'm a very, very energetic person.
Yes.
Small, very small, very tiny, but energetic.
Thank you very much once again.
You're welcome.
We've talked about some of the areas where you're making efforts in improving literacy and other things. In what other channels are you? In what other areas are you involved in promoting education or some other activities that you do professionally?
Well, the only other area is that almost all my lectures are uploaded on my channels on YouTube. And also I have a website, auadamu.com, where I put all my papers for anybody who wants to analyze anything that I do. I like you to go to my website, download my paper and read it, and then say you don't agree with me. Because I like that debate. You know, I don't want you to agree with me. I want you to disagree with me. So all my publications are right there on auadamu.com. And I have a channel on YouTube. I'm a film maker, you know, an amateur film maker, and I have some mainly documentaries. And my documentaries are about culture, performances, and the preservation of culture. They are also on my channel, Abdalla Uba Adamu on YouTube. So these are some of the things that we do in order to engage people. I am not on Facebook, although a lot of pages have been made for me, but I'm not, you won't see me on Facebook at all. I have asked those people who create Facebook pages for me to please bring them down, because people will think that they are mine. I made them. I'm not on Facebook. I've never been on Facebook. I'm not on TikTok. I'm not on Instagram. I'm not on a Snapchat, but my children are. So, you know, more or less, Adamu family is there. So that's what I do. I mean, my papers, I make my papers open so that people can read them, digest them, and most importantly, criticize me and say, no, Prof, I don't agree with you. Then I said, okay, you don't agree with it, let's have a conversation. Okay, let's convince each other. And that's how knowledge moves. You criticize, you move. You criticize, you move. You don't just close your mind and say, I'm a professor, nobody is going to challenge me. No, I want to be challenged. I want you to tell me that you don't agree with me and you have your reasons for not agreeing with me. Then I will learn something from you, because I'm always trying to learn also. I've never closed my mind. I'm always on the lookout for something new to learn. So this is how knowledge moves.
It's been an interesting discussion with you, sir. Thank you very much for joining.
You're welcome.
And
You're welcome.
we hope to have you some other time on this show or some
No
other
problem.
programs. So,
no problem.
Yeah, thank you so much once again.
Bye-bye.
So until next time, we say thank you to our listeners as well. Bye.
Many people don't appreciate the situation. We have so many teachers in the country. And when you now want to develop any project that involves teachers, how many of them can you take? We have thousands of teachers. Will you not go and bring 100 teachers to come and do? No. Look, from our knowledge experience, if you want to develop a curriculum, for instance, you need no more than 10 people to do the basic work, the development. You call a workshop, there will be about 10 people, they will brainstorm and put down something. Then you now call a group of other 10 people that will join the initial 10. And even among the initial 10, you will not take all of them, maybe 5 of them plus 10 others, making 15, to come and critique what has been drafted. Then when they have done the critique, those 10 people will now go and perfect it. Then the thing is sent to JCC. At JCC, there are many people there. Then all of them cannot be involved in the crucial scrutiny of that curriculum. It's only a few people that be selected. They cannot be more than 12.